What if tomorrow morning you checked the news and realized something strange had happened? It doesn't matter whether you're a CEO, a doctor, a construction worker, or a barista at the coffee shop down the street. You're all making the exact same amount of money. Every paycheck is identical. No bonuses, no overtime, no high-paying careers. Everyone, from the janitor cleaning the office floors to the lawyer arguing in court, is on the same level. At first, it sounds fair, right? No more billionaires buying mega yachts while others can't afford rent. No more endless stress about good jobs versus bad jobs. Everyone's covered. Everyone's equal. But here's the question. Would this world actually work? Or would it quietly fall apart the moment you tried to live in it? This isn't just some random late-night thought experiment. People have actually tried versions of this before. In the early 20th century, when communist systems were being tested, the idea of equal pay came up again and again. Factories where workers all made the same wages, communities that shared resources equally, and while some of them worked for a short while, most of them ran into the same big problem: motivation. Think about it. If you spent years studying medicine, training for long hours, dealing with life or death situations, but your paycheck was identical to someone stocking shelves at a grocery store, would you still do it? Some people would, because they care about the work. But for many, the incentive disappears. That's why, even in places that promised equality, secret hierarchies and rewards almost always crept back in. Even today, you see echoes of this idea. Some worker-owned companies experiment with flat pay systems. Everyone gets the same salary, no matter their role. And while that sounds empowering, those businesses usually find they need some sort of difference eventually. Because not all jobs are equally stressful or equally desirable. But here's where it gets interesting. Equal pay doesn't always lead to failure. In the military, for example, rank matters, but base pay is surprisingly flat compared to the private sector. A captain doesn't make millions more than a lieutenant. And in countries that have tested universal basic income, where everyone gets a flat amount of money to live on, people didn't just stop working. In fact, many pursued work they actually enjoyed, instead of just chasing the highest salary. So clearly, the idea isn't impossible, but it does challenge the way our current system is wired. That's the real sticking point. If pay is the same everywhere, the way people choose jobs changes completely. Instead of chasing that big paycheck you get at harder jobs, people would lean harder on personal interest, comfort, or status. Jobs that are fun, creative, or low stress could suddenly be flooded with applicants, while dirty, dangerous, or exhausting jobs might be nearly impossible to fill. That doesn't mean society collapses overnight, but it does mean someone has to step into those tough roles, and without extra pay, the only pull left is passion or obligation. And let's be honest, that's not enough to keep an entire economy running smoothly. From there, the ripple effects hit businesses and the economy as a whole. In a world of equal pay, companies can't lure talent with higher salaries. A tech startup can't offer double the pay to snag the best coder. Hospitals can't outbid each other for top surgeons. That means the traditional competition for talent disappears. And with it, a lot of innovation could slow down. On the other hand, collaboration might rise. If everyone is on the same level financially, companies might focus less on dangling money and more on building workplaces people actually want to be in. Benefits, work culture, free time. Those become the real incentives. But there's a darker side too. Some industries would struggle to survive. Dangerous, back-breaking work, mining, waste collection, even some manufacturing would be nearly impossible to staff fairly. Either those jobs get automated faster or they fall apart. And businesses that rely on star talent, like pro sports or entertainment, would probably see a black market appear almost instantly, with under-the-table deals to reward top performers. So equal pay doesn't just change people's choices. It rewires how entire industries operate, sometimes in ways that could make them stronger, and sometimes in ways that could break them completely. And beyond business, you'd see society itself start to shift. Overnight, the wealth gap would shrink. No more billionaires hoarding fortunes while others can't pay rent. Housing, healthcare, and education would look completely different when everyone's income is locked at the same level. Status symbols would start to change too. If money can't set people apart, other things will. Influence, networks, even how much free time someone has. Instead of showing off wealth, people might compete over lifestyle or recognition. Consumer culture would also take a hit. Without extreme incomes at the top, luxury markets would shrink. That doesn't mean people stop spending, but buying a designer bag or a sports car wouldn't carry the same meaning if everyone technically could afford it. The game of showing off shifts, but it doesn't disappear. And maybe, just maybe, community could matter more. If everyone knows they're on equal financial footing, the pressure to get ahead softens. People might choose jobs, hobbies, or relationships without worrying about the paycheck attached. That's the utopian dream side of equal pay, even if the reality comes with its own cracks. But bare-bones finance, you may ask. What about businesses making excess money? Or more money than other companies? Well, my dear viewer, that's an excellent point. Because even if every worker is locked into the same salary, not every business earns the same profit. A global tech company is still going to bring in way more than a neighborhood bakery. So where does all that extra cash go? One possibility is that it stays inside the business. Companies might pour it into research, expansion, or automation since they can't just raise salaries. That could make big players grow even bigger, while smaller businesses fall further behind. Another option is redistribution. Governments could tax excess profits and use them to fund public projects. Sounds fair in theory, but it raises the messy question of who decides what too much really is. And then there's the unofficial route. If you can't reward workers with higher pay, you reward them with perks. Better housing, company cars, private healthcare, exclusive memberships. Salary equality doesn't erase inequality. It just changes its shape. Now the gap isn't about income, it's about access. So even in a perfectly equal pay world, money still finds cracks to flow through. The game simply shifts from who earns the most to who controls the profits. The idea of everyone earning the same salary sounds simple, but the reality is anything but. Fairness is appealing, but efficiency, incentives, and power always find new ways to shape the system. Maybe the real question isn't, should everyone earn the same, but how do we make sure everyone earns enough? If you enjoyed this thought experiment, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more unusual takes on money and the systems that run our lives. And tell me in the comments, would you still do your current job if the paycheck was exactly the same as everyone else's?